Alright, I'll give you my setup on the HeeWing Hunter H1. It's a fantastic flying plane. My all-up weight on this plane is 269 grams, and that includes my 3.7 gram rudder servo, a servo extension cable for the servo, rudder control horn and linkage, landing skids at 9 grams, my 2S 1000 milliamp hour 25C LiPo that weighs 45 grams, and 7 grams of nose ballast weight. So, if you want to set it up sub 250 gram, you can set up for bank and yank with aileron and elevator, no rudder, and that'll put you at about 240 to 245 grams all up weight using a 45 gram 2S LiPo like I use. Okay. I think that's what they were shooting for. I think they originally designed this plane to be sub 250 gram, which is why it didn't come with a servo installed for the rudder, right? Luckily, they did include the control horn, the clevis, the linkage, everything except for the servo itself. So, 269 grams, flies off of a 2S LiPo. It has a very good power at that weight. All right, so my CG is at the specified CG. And the location for the CG, you've got two little raised foam nubs on the bottom of each wing half. That's where I have my CG balance, and it's balance neutral. Okay, so here is a picture of the two little nubs I was talking about for where the CG is located, and I just went ahead and colored mine in with the magic marker black so it'd be easier for me to see them. All right, so that's that. All right, so my control linkage setup for the aileron control horns, I have the linkage set up on the second outermost hole, and that's a 4-hole control horn. For the aileron servo, it's the innermost hole, and it is a 3-hole control horn. The elevator control horn, I have it in the second outermost hole in a 4-hole control horn. And on the servo arm, it's in the center hole, and that's a 3-hole control arm on the servo. All right, and let's take a look at these real quick. All right, so there's the aileron linkage setup that I have. Innermost hole on the servo arm, second outermost hole on the 4-hole control horn. Now it did not come, the linkage, the clevises did not come with those little silicone rings that you typically use to make sure that the clevises don't pop open. So what I did was I just took a piece of, I snipped a section of heat shrink that was the right diameter to put over top of these plastic clevises to make sure that they don't pop open. Okay, and I put that on all of the clevises on the linkage. The next picture will be for the elevator. So you can see I'm in the center hole on the servo arm, and second outermost hole on the control horn for the elevator. And that gives pretty good elevator authority with a little bit left in reserve. Okay. All right, so, and the rudder control horn is the second innermost hole and on the center hole. And that's a 4-hole control horn and 3-hole servo control arm. All right, so, and we'll take a look at that real quick. Okay, so there's that. Okay, now my recommended radio setup, and these will give you a good starting point for a very successful maiden fly, and then you can adjust it to match your flying style. But I've got all the dual rates for the aileron, the elevator, and the rudder, because I do have a rudder set up on mine at 100% dual rate. And then quite a bit of expo because I like a lot of control authority on my planes, but I also like to use a lot of expo to smooth out the controls. So 70% on the aileron, 70% on the elevator, 25% on the rudder. Not a whole lot of deflection, but it doesn't take a lot of deflection on this airframe to really, rotate in the roll, the pitch, or in the yaw axis. So for the aileron, I've got 13 millimeters of movement up, 13 millimeters of movement down, 11 millimeters up and 11 millimeters down on the elevator, and 15 and 15 on the rudder. Now, where I measure the control surface movement is opposite of where the control horn is. So like for the aileron, I would be at the trailing edge of the aileron, right in line with the control horn. Okay, so if there's any flexing in the control surface, there won't be any flexing right there where the control horn is located. So that's how I always measure my deflection. Same thing with the elevator and same thing with the rudder. Okay. All right, so we're back at the beginning. So in the show notes, there will be a link to the my setup file, which is a downloadable PDF file. So if you want to download it, the PDF file, and have it handy for this setup, it's available. There's a link to the plane in the show notes. There's a link to the playlist in the show notes. So all of the videos that I've produced and published so far on this plane, on Ground Control RC or on TinkerzLab, are all inside that playlist. So that's where you'll find everything, and all of my future videos that I make on this plane, I will add to that playlist. So if you check that playlist, you'll be able to see everything related to this plane. All right. So that's a wrap on this episode. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time in the TinkerzLab.